the largest known to have occurred on a specific type of fault line, specifically, a strike-slip fault line. Strike-slip faults involve horizontal rather than vertical motion from two sides of a fault sliding past one another. Offshore of the west coast of northern Sumatra, geologic setting there are, depending on how you count it, 3 or 4 tectonic plate boundaries. To the east, you have the Burma microplate, which is sometimes considered its own distinct tectonic plate, while others consider it part of the much larger Sunda plate. Heading west, you have the Indo-Australian plate to the southwest and the Indian plate to the northwest. Both of these plates are colliding with their counterparts to the east, but this collision is not occurring straight on but rather through north-northeast movement. In other words, there is far more northerly than easterly motion of the Indian and Indo-Australian plates. As a result, stresses can build up on a portion of the Indian plate as a portion of it attempts to slowly break apart into its own distinct microplate, eventually being released by a series of large strike-slip faults. However, this doesn't explain why such a large offset occurred. What does, however, is the manner moment magnitude in which earthquake magnitudes are calculated, specifically with the moment magnitude scale. When an earthquake occurs, a rupture of a specific length and width moves a specific average amount. Since the number figure of these three values are multiplied together using this formula, a certain magnitude earthquake can represent a wide range of possible values. For example, here are the values for 7 21st century magnitude 7.8 earthquakes which occurred worldwide. Note how the ratios between the length and width greatly vary, and how the steeper the incline of the fault plane is, the more significant the maximum slip values are. Since strike-slip faults essentially move purely horizontally, so the fault plane has an angle of 90 degrees, marking the steepest it can get. The greater the angle is, the more oblong the slip rectangle will be. Thus, the further apart the ratios of two values get when you similar additive values, the lower the multiplied values will be. Thus, to get the same magnitude for a strike-slip fault earthquake as an earthquake on any other fault type, generally speaking, the larger the maximum slip must be. And very large strike-slip faults of magnitude 8.5 or larger are absurdly rare, only being known to have occurred twice. Once at this Indonesia 2012 earthquake and once in the far eastern Tibetan Plateau in 1950. Since the Indonesian quake was the largest strike-slip fault earthquake ever recorded, it produced one of the largest fault offsets in recorded history. Adding another level of complexity, note the 4 fault lines usualness of the earthquake duration chart for the 2012 Indonesian quake. It seems per one source at least that not one but 4 different large strike-slip faults ruptured at different intervals in the overall quake, which added together to create the extreme displacement. Only one earthquake has created a larger maximum offset, a 56 to 62 meter offset during Japan's deadly 2011 megathrust earthquake of magnitude 9.1. As a final note, I would like to thank my new YouTube channel member Michael Garin for supporting my work.